A person who gets into this kind of training will certainly enjoy his training. Every stage of the training, he will have that sense of achievement, that pleasure will be there.
Superb. Let's get started. Hello and welcome everybody to Career Talks with Mentoria. My name is Nikhar Arora and I'm one of the founders and CEO of Mentoria. Our passion is to help you discover yours, and through these podcasts, these webinars, these talk shows, we want to give you a very realistic perspective of what your career is all about. The more you know, the more informed your career and educational decisions. Today, we're going to have an incredible conversation on the world of the Indian Defence Services as well as the Air Force and building a career in it. We have with us a very, very special guest today. Please welcome Dr. Ganesh Kumar, an expert who has served in the Indian Air Force for 35 plus years and won the rank of Wing Commander. Dr. Kumar is a strong believer in education and has proved this by doing a PhD in psychology, multiple master's courses in economics, public administration, as well as an LLB, along with many other certifications. He's currently working as the Chief Administrative Officer at CPRI. Thank you so much, Dr. Kumar, for joining us here today. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Let's get to know you a little bit better and your journey a little bit better through the course of this webinar.
A very good evening. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to contribute for building the second generation's ambitions. At the age of 16 years, 8 months, I joined Indian Air Force as an airman. Subsequently, this Air Force being an elite force, handling with sophisticated equipment, we always encourage the people in Air Force to get into career enhancement and knowledge enhancement drive. In that, I could make use of all my time and all the opportunities associated with my frequent transfers. I never took it as a disturbance or against my stability in one place. But all those places wherever I could travel and all the stations I had co-located with some good colleges and universities, I made use of those opportunities and I could enhance my qualification. Thereby, I could opt myself elevating from a soldier's cadre, airman cadre to an officer's side. So I got commissioned in the year 2002 in administrative branch. As you have introduced with my qualifications, that is how I could make use of my time in a creative manner. Otherwise, nothing great, so great about getting these qualifications being in Indian Air Force. And for second generation, this is a message. Anybody who feels that getting a job will hamper their qualification enhancement or academic achievements, I am very sure that this is the place where they can satisfy both these professional as well as their knowledge thrust. So I encourage people on this respect. This will give you satisfaction in both personal and professional front. We have different types of entry starting from National Defence Academy. Specifically, if you want to become a pilot, it is mandatory to have up to your 10 plus 2, you must have studied your maths physics. 10 plus 2, after 10th standard, when you opt for your higher secondary course, you must have mathematics and physics in your 10 plus 2, that is mandatory. Otherwise, any graduate can appear for Air Force Common Admission Test. We call it AFCAT. If you clear AFCAT, after that, it's a very, very preliminary level of examination. Air Force directly conducts. Otherwise, through UPSC, if you are coming, the National Defence Academy examination after 10 plus 2 you will be clearing. Then you will go to respective academies. If you have opted for Air Force, then you will come to Air Force Academy. Initially, you will go to National Defence Academy for 3 years. Subject to your choice of asking for the stream Army, Navy, Air Force, the person who is opting to become a pilot, he will be sent to Air Force Academy as per the choice what he has opted during the NDA selections. Basic thing, academic requirement is this, and most of the people who are joining in the recent days, what we happen to see is people from BSc Physics, Maths and Engineering graduates. Even in civil services, though we call it as any graduates, most of the engineering graduates are getting into this side. So that will be the competition there. So it is better to get into BSc Physics, Maths and BE, BTech for getting into pilot stream. Or if you are through NDA, then it is a science stream student who has got Maths Physics in 10+2. Then through NDA also he can come and become a pilot. Basically, the majority of the people, they enter at the level of 10+2 because the majority of the people, the major chunk who get into this side is through National Defence Academy. That is the right age to get into defence. Why? Because defence services are basically based on your seniority, age and physical fitness. That particular age gives you a proper molding, and the probability of getting into defence services, the selection process, that the probability is more in National Defence Academy. Why? Because the number of incumbent through that entry is more. Subsequently, anybody wants to come with the graduation, for them it is the engineering or BSc Physics or Maths degree people. If I'm exactly putting it into words, it's 152.5 centimeters is the height we look for. One should not be lower than this. And to become a pilot, they will be calculating leg length separately they will take. For a soldier, generally when we take in different services, we take 152.5 as an average height. The exemptions given to northeastern region people are exactly, I'm not aware that, I will have to refer for that. But otherwise 152.5 is the exact thing I remember on an average. For a pilot, the leg length what they look is 99 centimeters. That is there. And you should not have any vision issues.
And is this different for male candidates and female candidates, or is it exactly the same? Like, how does it work in that variety?
No, there is no difference. There is no difference.
Got it. So even female candidates can ensure, students who, are girl students can also ensure that 10+2 ke baad they can apply to the NDA directly to get into the Air Force.
Definitely. We have got NDA entries for girls also nowadays. So they can also opt for, they can also join through NDA. For NDA, it's there is nothing like that. Why? Because a person who is studying in 10+2 is also eligible to appear for the examination. Generally, you get 3 chances in NDA at the age of 16 and a half, 17 and 17 and a half. For easy understanding, what we can understand is when a person is studying in second year of his higher secondary course, once he will get his chance. The moment he completes immediately his higher secondary course, he will get second chance. Probably during his first year of his graduation, he will be able to get his third chance. So there is no cutoff like, but when you come as a candidate through AFCAT, there we have to have aggregate mark of 60% in your 10+2. National Defence Academy is a combined training for all 3 services. In National Defence Academy, there is a separate wing called AFTT, Air Force Training Team. They will be, depending upon the wing they have opted for, the training pattern is also planned in such a manner that though they have got common training for all 3 services, drill and other thing, but theoretical things taught to them are specific to Air Force requirement. Actually speaking, like when we talk in terms of challenges, military training will never be a challenge for a person who got selected. Why? Because the selection itself for an officer cadre is through a personality test. It's a psychological test. Unless that liking is there within that individual, the selection board will be able to make it out. A person who gets into this kind of training will certainly enjoy his training. Every stage of the training, he will have that sense of achievement, that pleasure will be there. Maybe the same thing look like a challenge for somebody else, but for a person who has got a true qualities within him, based on which he has been recommended by the board to become an officer, he will enjoy every phase of his training life. That is what I have experienced, and I'm very sure if a candidate has got the inborn qualities to become an officer, or he has been properly reoriented or oriented or inclined towards this officer's life, I don't think anything will be a challenge. It is only for those people looking from outside will take it as a challenge, whereas this individual will be enjoying every bit of his training life and his career also. In National Defence Academy is 3 years common training. Then depending upon your wing of option, like army people will go to Indian Military Academy in Dehradun, whereas the Air Force Academy Dundikal and Naval Academy Kochi, all these batch will be sent for 1 year training in respective forces, and from there they will pass out as the officers. The candidate has got a right to opt for his respective arm, Army, Navy or Air Force. One thing is, depending upon the merit what he scores in the Union Public Service Commission UPSC examination performance, that will decide his arm. That could be even as per his choice, or at times when he is unable to be accommodated as per his choice, he may have to accept what is given by the UPSC. Second thing is the physical fitness. Like when anybody is opting to Air Force requirements, the fitness level will be a bit stringent, because we will be looking strictly for this leg length and other things. Second thing is the eyesight. Person with vision difficulties, disabilities, or I don't call it as disability, defective eye vision, may have to opt for other arms like army and other things. Actually, medical side will be more stringent. Why? Because entry level, be it OBS cases or vision related or anything, entry level, it will not be compromised. They will be looking for natural vision, what is supposed to be there 6x6, that they will be looking for very strictly. Once after entry, if something happens, subsequent to that, if there is any corrective vision, pilots do exist in service after entry level. If there is any such thing occurs, that is being corrected and they are retained because the training value is there and they have got pilot aptitude cleared. So that time they will be able to cope up with. But otherwise, at the time of entry, these corrective visions will not be acceptable. Like while in Air Force Academy, there will be trifurcation board. Depending upon your performance in your basic flying training, they will make 3 groups of fighter pilots, transports and helicopters. Based on that, people will be subsequently sent to different training institutions, train on that particular system. So accordingly, people become fighter pilots or helicopter pilots or transport pilots. In that also, they are permitted to give their options. The candidate is permitted to give his own option, and as far as possible, if he is performing well, he will be accommodated as per his choice. When there is no such, or his performance is not matching with his choice, then the assessment by the instructor will hold good. So the decision will be by the instructors and the board. Basically, there is a board to decide his stream of whether he is a fighter pilot or going to be a helicopter pilot or transport pilot. Right, sir. But if you ask me, every pilot is a pilot. Everybody is flying. First thing is that fighter pilots, the nature of work, is a single crew cockpit. Everything he alone has to do. He has to manage. He has to be a bit fast in his actions. It is basically aptitude oriented. There is nothing like somebody's push and pull or teaching. These kind of things may not sometimes work out. It is an inborn quality within a candidate. Every human being has got his own inborn capabilities in different areas. So the instructor very closely observe a candidate at the time of basic training, and they decide by observing his aptitude level accordingly is diagnosed and the stream is given. A fighter pilot has to manage everything alone in his cockpit. Whereas when we see helicopters and the transport, that will be a multiple crew cockpit it is, and their role, a mission requirement and other things are different. This can be taken in either way. There is no compromise. When we talk about pilot, all three pilots have almost 99% similar responsibilities because it causes life. Though it appears very adventurous and challenging, it directly costs your life. So there is no compromise. Only depending upon your own interest. The candidate may fit into all three streams also. But ultimately, his interest is also seen. His own interest is also taken into consideration. What he actually wants to become and what is he interested and what are his personal interests. So that is taken care of and accordingly it is given. If you ask me responsibilities like troops mobility and other arms and ammunitions and loads requirement and all those things, transports will generally take. And where there is no large quantity goes by the transport aircraft, means a smaller quantity, and to the remote location we use it by helicopters. Whereas fighter pilot has got his own role, particularly going across the borders. Generally, helicopters and transports, the probability of crossing border is very less. Very, very less. Even we have fighter helicopters also inducted in Air Force. But when you compare with transport fleet, the probability of going across the border is very less. Whereas the fighters has in its mandate like that. Helicopters, we do have low-level flying requirements and going across the border, and fighter helicopters are also inducted. So they have the opportunity to take direct combat role in war scenarios. Well, actually, in military, training never ends till your retirement, because every day the sophistication and advancement of technical equipment keep getting inducted into service. The basic training will be common because that remains with you. But from there, you'll have to update yourself with the latest developments. Like a chief who was about to retire has to fly in Rafale aircraft. So you can't call it that your training is over and your life as a staff member it started. But the responsibility adds on to you and the training requirement continues. You have to have that mindset. Otherwise, the habit of reading or habit of undergoing training that continues till the date of your retirement, even after retirement also to an individual. One should have this in his mind. Once he is entering into armed forces, for that matter, not only in Air Force, all three services, we keep inducting new systems and we keep interacting with new people, and international cooperation. You have got different countries getting into our own thing, and accordingly the learning values and add on into your training things will keep continuing with that. Since you asked how do we start with and what is the career and other growth, as a cadet when you pass out, in Air Force we pass out as flying officers. Then subsequently you become flight lieutenant. Then you become squadron leader. Then you become wing commander. Then you become group captain. Then you become air commodore. Then air vice marshal, air marshal, air chief marshal, and marshal of the IAF. Same way, other tri-services we can see. In army we have got second lieutenant. Then he becomes, lieutenant the second lieutenant rank is abolished. Now they start with lieutenants and they become captain, major, then lieutenant colonel, colonel, brigadier, major general, lieutenant general, general, then field marshal. So all three services it goes like that. Depending upon your rank and seniority, The training is planned in such a way, in such a manner, where gradually you are introduced to the system, you are exposed to the requirements. Like it's purely based on your performance. Nothing happens automatic. Like in some of the organizations, they may have, depending upon the length of service they rendered, they will be assured with certain things. Like we say, time-bound promotions. Generally, that doesn't happen here. Though assured career is there, but in the same branch, in the same stream, there are different types of jobs available here. All these things will be considered based on your performance. Just for example, I can tell you, a cadet who has flown and after that who goes for advanced fighter trainings, he will always be assessed for his suitability into different types of aircraft. Just for example, a fighter pilot who has completed his training and goes for advanced level of flying, there he will be identified whether he is going directly to a Mirage Squadron or is going to a like a Su-30 or Rafale kind of fleet. So one has to match with the requirements of different fleet what we have. And apart from that, we have got other requirements also. Like a fighter pilot can be even sometimes made responsible for the UAVs, like remotely operated pilot vehicle. We have got unmanned aerial vehicle, what we used to call previously. That also is the domain of a flying pilot. And again, missile operation is also done it is the responsibility of a person from flying branch. So as per the requirement and his performance and availability of vacancy, if somebody is made as a flight commander of a fighter squadron, subsequently he becomes a commanding officer of the fighter squadron. Everybody cannot be positioned in that level. So in cognizance with his seniority and experience, and he may sometimes have to take care of the missiles and the UAVs also. They are also related to flying related activities. So one has to be mentally prepared for that. On the other side, one has to perform, thinking all these things into his mind, learning and displaying the things. So he has to update himself and show his growth in that profession in that manner, which suits to the requirements of the organization. So accordingly, he will get an opportunity to get into different streams. As I said, officer is here for leadership requirements. Though he is a flying officer, he has got a lot of soldiers looking up to him. He has no way to compromise in those standards as a leader. It starts from that. And for him to fix his own role model, there are so many other seniors around him. So accordingly, as a flying officer, we will be giving some kind of responsibilities where he has to get the job done through his soldiers. We have got middle level seniors in airman cadre also. Like in army, when we say soldiers, in Air Force we call airmen, and in Navy we have got sailors. This officer is directly made to interact with those people to lead them. That opportunity is always there. But at the same time, he is closely monitored whether he is going on the right track or not by his own seniors. So accordingly, the objective, we have got, there is a system called units. Every unit in defense force has got its own mandate. So flying people will generally be posted to flying units. Whereas if a person is joining in ground duties, they will be in the support service, technical and administration, accounts, logistics, and these kind of support services also we do have. So depending upon the nature of the function the unit is expected to do, accordingly he will be exposed to the level of responsibility. And there will be a systematically designed and devised training pattern and growth in service. That is there. He will have responsibility of handling the people below, while there is somebody above him to guide him in all days. It's highly practical oriented. You have to be very, very realistic. That is what we actually look at the time of selection. Why? Because when you are applying for your AFCAT or other entries, we ensure that you have to have minimum 60% of marks. That means your academic excellence or a level of your intellectual capability is ascertained. A university has already certified a candidate that is not that low level or lacking in his aptitude, so that portion is also given to the Air Force to test. Generally, we look into a candidate who is 60% and above, means intellectually he is okay. But we will be very, very critical in testing his aptitude. Personality related tests are more, because selection in defense forces at officer level, maybe the other things are almost similar to all other competitive examinations. Like what NDA conducts, NDA examination by UPSC or Combined Defense Service examination for graduates, or AFCAT directly conducted by Air Force. All these things have some similarity with the common competitive examinations.
We were talking about the key attitude, skills, and knowledge needed to succeed in the IAF.
Survival, social adaptability. Basically, one should have social inclination. He cannot be a person of thinking in isolation. He has to have a clear vision about, the foresight has to be very clear. He is for the society, and all his activities will have a direct impact onto the society. That one has to be very clear about it. That thing has to be there in his mind. When we talk about selection, all those 15 officer-like qualities and those traits, that will be more technical and formal in nature when we speak. But for a student from 8th standard onwards, at least if he is interested in joining in defense forces, I wish his social understanding has to be very clear. His liking towards this defense life and adventurous in nature, all these things have to be clear in his mind. That will work good, because we cannot particularly say that it is not a conventional examination pattern where I can define a syllabus or define a particular author's book to go through. One has to be totally social in his approach. He has to be very, very practical and realistic in his approach, and there is no rocket science involved in this. Everybody can get, and beauty of the selection in defense forces is, it is not based on just like that somebody who came, whoever could make it on the top merit list, people will be selected. It is not like that. It is a pure DRDO's DIPR, Defense Institute of Psychological Research, has got a clear scale set. Any candidate crosses that scale is this side. And even if not even one candidate in the entire batch is able to cross that scale, the entire batch will be sent back. So one has to have, or one is not required to have any fear of his own friend performing well or getting into the better position in the merit. That fear one is not required to have. Anybody who is in the crowd, who has got his own team, who has the capability of building his own team, has got great opportunities getting into this. Since I have passed a little more time in services, from those ages of 16 years, 8 months till at the age of 53 years, because the requirements and priorities keep shifting. At the age, till the time you get into your crossing the teens, you don't generally need certain things and realize the future personal requirements. You will enjoy, there is no doubt, because it is your passion. You wanted to be in uniform and you wanted to be part of the challenging life and adventurous in your career. But yes, the moment you get married, once your family life starts and the requirements of your family increases and your parents are getting old, that time one has to plan things. And service is not that bad. Most of the stations have got family stations. We have medical facilities available here. So accordingly, it is not only the soldier or the officer who serves this nation. It is the people who are associated with him also have to be equally trained by the so-called soldier and the officer, because his availability towards the family may at times look it is minimized, but equally they are also equipped and trained. That can even be seen as challenge, or otherwise around is that is a way of life. There is no threat as such. Today I am sitting in this position means it's because of my exposure in that side. Because a resettlement value, that is what one will be looking at. To train a pilot, and most of the pilots who are flying the civil flights now are erstwhile the Air Force pilots. So I don't say that one should join Air Force just for the sake of getting pilot training and leaving Air Force and joining civil fleet. I don't mean that. But if a person is critically in need of such a challenge in his life which he is unable to overcome, definitely Air Force helps. There are clear exit policies. There are laid down structure of exit system here. So that will take care of that. Since you said challenge, people may even call the harsh weather as a challenge. But for a person who has cleared the Services Selection Board interview and recommended by the board opportunity, if you ask me, I served twice in Asian Glacier in Ladakh region. The facility what you get in Ladakh region, if a normal layman of this country has to visit that place, he has to spend in lakhs. Whereas I had my own liking towards facing that kind of situation in life, whereas free of cost. There were a lot of amateur clubs, people doing expedition to Seychelles, people doing adventurous activities and forming their own clubs and doing. They are phenomenally costly. Whereas Air Force, that becomes your day-to-day life. The pleasure what you derive out of it, maybe for an outsider he is looking at it, it may look like a challenge. But for him, he is able to satisfy his own inbuilt drive or urge through his professional things. He's working as well as he's enjoying. That kind of thing only in defense forces you can get. Other places you may have some kind of, there is no monotony here, I'm telling you, I give you that guarantee. One side you may call it as instability, we keep getting transferred from one place to the other. Whereas, thanks to Government of India and the facility provided for your transportation and the facility provided for your stay in the station and the nature of job keep changing. See, you are a soldier and the region and the place, depending upon the place of posting, your nature of work also keep changing. I can tell in my own case, I am trained in administrative branch as an officer. Being an operational force, you need somebody to control the aircraft flying. So I am trained on air traffic controlling also. So in addition to my administrative capabilities, I could develop my air traffic control skill also. And it is not that every time I am put in air traffic controlling, I become an aerodrome controller, then I become an approach controller, then I become an area controller, then we do procedural control, then radar control. Simultaneously, you keep learning all these additional areas. Since I'm a law qualified officer, at times I'm the legal officer of the station. In my personal own interest, I have studied my LLB, but utilizing that, there are so many court-martials happening in different forces. So that monotony, I don't do only air traffic controlling, get bored about my job. And I don't do air traffic controlling only in Seychelles glaciers. The moment I'm transferred from this, we don't have officers of police cadre and intelligence direct recruitments. People from the existing service entry only are selected for policing duties and intelligence duties. So based on your performance and other intelligence input, there is a board convened and they keep changing your type of work, nature of work in consonance with your seniority. The more you grow, they make you commanding officer of units, they make you adjutants of the places, they make you detachment commanders. So the size of the area what you command or control that keeps changing based on your seniority and your experience. So till the day of your retirement, I give you guarantee that you will have different type of job you will be handling. Then again, that matching with your personal requirement, you will have to adjust with. And in extreme cases, the exit policies are very clear. You can plan your things accordingly. You can quit service and you can have a better resettlement options outside also. So then also you continue your military life there. I'm telling you. Directly, if you talk about monetary things, just imagine what has happened during Corona. During Corona, this COVID period, it is only the government sector people who are taken care of. Whereas for other people, though government took its own measures, but assured things were not there. Let us think in those lines now. This is the only area, even today I am telling you, pensionary benefits, we say, the people who have joined any government service after 2004, they don't have pension facilities. Whereas that facility still exists in armed forces. That is one, since you asked about monetary things. But if you compare or equate your monetary things with respect to all other facilities you have availed here, like another government employee, the parallel service, the group 1 service officer, whatever the pay and perks he is getting, everything is paid here. In addition to that, we have got special allowances with respect to the place of posting. Like person who are posted to insurgency prone area, he gets different thing. And if he is posted to a training establishment, he is getting additional allowances, instructor allowances. And when he is posted to insurgency prone or high altitude areas, that is adequately compensated by the government. There is no difference between a group 1 officer in civil services and his basic pay, because 7 CPC is very clear. Very clear. It is the same pay bracket we have got. We start with, as a group 1 officer, scale 10, pay scale 10 if you see, that will start with. So accordingly, each rank, only at times, you cannot put an equal equation between a civil servant and a defense officer. There are at places we got in the scale itself like 11, 12 and all. Like wing commander is called 12 alpha, which 12 alpha is not there in civil services. So they create a new slab for this particular level of officers in armed forces. Otherwise, 7 CPC is the common, 7 Central Pay Commission is the common pay structure for all the government services. In addition to that, what we have as medical facility, what we have for transportation, though you are transferred, that is adequately compensated. Like what the people are afraid of or the doubt what they compare with. Just for example, in other civil jobs, since they have stability, they get into another kind of investments and other things. Whereas we have a lifestyle here. Just for example, there are certain things. We have got officers mess facility, for example. One has to be a member of the mess. And there are certain standards specified. If perforce is forced to maintain all those things. There is no choice for him to opt out of that particular system. Whereas there are people outside, they want to avail those facilities. They want to live like that. But the facility is not there. Or rather, they are permitted to opt out of the facility. He is not compelled to get into that. So that kind of things we cannot put, equal equation cannot be put into it. Yes, if you say only money, a person can live whichever the way he wants to live in civil. There is no dress code for him. There is no standard maintained. Whichever the way he wants to come to office, he can come. He can save all his money. Whatever he has earned, the entire thing can be put into savings. But in defense, to some extent, it is possible, but to some extent, it is not possible because we want in consonance at par with his own rank and the structure and his hierarchical status. We insist for that because that is the lifestyle. Like I would suggest if you can go through 7th Central Pay Commission's pay structure thing, because I will not be able to give you the exact figures in that because the guardians are very clear in that, and I will not be able to give you the exact figure here. because what you said is an inseparable factor in the new generation's life. Not only in this profession, it will have its own impact in all the areas, gamut of our life. This force being more equipment dependent, knowledge oriented, this will have more rational impact of those factors. Definitely that will have, and one has to update himself. One has to update and go along with the developments. And since it is defense oriented and your requirement is something like a cat and rat race, so whatever the advancement happens on the other side, accordingly, immediately you have to think one step ahead of that. That awareness has to be there, your alertness has to be always on, you have to be always on guards. So there is no way that you will be able to compromise or relax. No, there is no, I don't call it as a change. It is a requirement. It is a requirement. Because it's a continuous gauging of the adversary's needs. Or the other way around is adversary's growth. You can't let something to serve. In some areas it is proactive. In very few areas it is reactive. We have to think one step ahead. It is not only based on the requirement. You have to be far ahead of somebody's imagination. So once that is in your mind, there is a separate wing and your what we call as the strategies and tactics. Like it is part of that. So this will be a bit sensitive issue to discuss on a public forum.
Got it.
Because it is a every moment's requirement. It is not even every day's requirement. Advice rather, if anybody is adventure oriented and who doesn't like a monotonous way of living and who always enjoys the challenges and who feels proud of being useful to the society, but death is a common thing. Normally people always associate military means it is immediately untoward death or a meaningless death. Sorry. This is the only place where your death will be meaningful. It is not that everybody who joined have died. Because it teaches you a lot of survival things also. Had somebody else been here, he could have died. But soldier, so easily he doesn't die. Unless he fulfills his mission, he doesn't give up. So even at times he holds his breath in his hand. So that kind of attitude if you have, you will enjoy this place. And definitely you will be useful to the society. And this forum and this particular profession will give you a lot of energy and strength in your entire life, I'm telling you. And you will definitely be able to lead the society, and society will always look up to you during the crisis. And you will have that additional quality that day once you pass through this profession and go out of this place. And you will be respected, and only the perception differs. If somebody equates the thing with monetary things, what a soldier has got is not there with the other chap. Whereas if somebody has got value for his own money, a soldier, if you ask me, has got more than what the other chap has got, which cannot be equated with monetary things. So that has to be there. Like you see the students who are into Boy Scouts or NCC, in the entire crowd in the school, very few are coming forward to this. Out of that, very few are looking for those certificates. With the help of the Scout certificate or the NCC certificate, I'll be able to get a quota seat in MBBS or engineering or IIT or NIT, wherever it is. Whereas the remaining 80% of the people who are in NCC or Scouts, they enjoy their life in that particular thing. They want an inborn quality, respecting the uniform, and they want to have that kind of life itself. They cannot enjoy their life without challenges. That is inborn. So it is your way of living that gives you a lot of satisfaction. So ultimate goal of life is to have satisfaction in your own life. So that particular thing is abundant at this place. If somebody has got, that is why army says, if you have it in you, this is the place. If you don't have it in you, we don't mind, because he's fit for some other profession outside.
My question is, my son is studying in 10th standard and we are residing in Bangalore. He has a vision of 6x6, but there is power in him. He aspires to join NDA. And so is it okay if he can still join commerce, or is it mandatory that he should take up science and then do it? That is one question, sir.
Not an issue, sir. If he has got vision-related problems, it is only for flying there will be issues.
Okay.
Otherwise, other branches, there are a lot of other branches available in armed forces in officer cadre.
Okay, understood. And since we are residing in Bangalore, just like in the schools, they join Kendriya Vidyalaya. Is there anything college which leads up to NDA, or which concentrates more on people moving to NDA? Anything like that, sir?
Absolutely, there is no such requirement, sir. Though we have got Sainik schools available at times. Every state has got, in certain places it is for 2-3 states one school.
Okay.
Had he gone at the age of 10 or 14, it would have been better. But that is not a mandatory requirement to get into defense services.
Okay, so thanks for that. And
not necessarily that he has to go to the special.
Okay. Thanks. One last question is, last question is, so now to know the options of optional services, or which one to choose as per his interest. So whom should I contact, and is there any website which I can go through, so that now since he is in 10th, when he starts taking up first year PU, he can work towards that?
Absolutely no problem, sir. If he is in 10th standard, if he wants to join NDA, if he is okay with his mathematics and physics, in higher secondary course, let him opt for maths, physics, chemistry, biology, or computer science.
Okay.
Or if he is getting into commerce and other things, sometimes he may have to join the accounts branch of the armed forces.
Okay, accounts branch.
That even after completing his BCom and MCom also, he can join in armed forces as accountant officer.
Okay.
If you are looking for Army and Navy, getting into the combat force, it is safer to be on that maths, physics, chemistry, and computer science.
Okay. Yeah, he is good in maths, very good in maths. So
then it is better to be in that. Why? Because I can tell you these vision issues sometimes improve at later stage also.
Yes.
He may not get a chance to join in Indian Air Force and become an Air Force pilot. Whereas we have got Air Arm in Navy, as well as in Army also, we have got artillery helicopter pilots.
Sure.
Though he is opting to become an infantry officer or artillery officer in Army, subsequently while in service, these people will be selected for pilot course in helicopter wing.
Okay.
During that time, it should not happen that since he did not have mathematics at his 10+2, he is denied the chance.
Okay.
So that's why I tell you, it is better let him be in touch with his mathematics subject. Let us not to leave that subject at this stage.
Sure, sir. And to take up for branch of armed forces, what exams should he take it up to?
Generally, branch at NDA, sir, we always look for combat force.
Combat forces, okay.
National Defense Academy for Air Force means it's for flying. Sorry. Army means it's for infantry and artillery.
Okay.
And Navy means it is for the combat requirement.
Okay.
But in case if there is any medical issues, anybody who has joined NDA and subsequently is getting into any medical problem after joining the training or while in service or after completion of his training, then they will change his branch from flying to some other branch.
Okay. Understood, sir.
Otherwise, there is no specific thing that happens in case if you are coming through AFCAT after completing your BCom or engineering kind of thing. Then engineering people, they come for technical branch duties. They may opt for, even AFCAT gives eligibility for all the branches depending upon the qualification what you have. Because AFCAT is a common admission test in Air Force common admission test, in which, for example, I can just tell you, AFCAT gives you options of your branches. An engineer can give priority flying as first, second as administration, third as air traffic control, fourth as technical. That is as per his choice. Otherwise, by qualification, he is an engineer. If he fulfills the requirement of medical suitability or be a pilot aptitude battery test, if he is able to clear and be accommodated in flying branch, he will get an opportunity to join in flying branch only. If you ask me, all three services, the status and other things, everything is same.
Okay.
Only the nature of duty and your lifestyle in three services with specific to their own requirement, there is a slight difference in those things. Otherwise, your status, your parent perks, facilities, everything is same in all three services. And selection board members are also common, because our training for officer selection board, which is in DIPR under DRDO, all three services officers are trained there to become examiners of the selection board. So selection pattern is also same. The qualities what we look is also same for all three services. So it is depending upon your own taste, what kind of life you are looking for, you can opt for those things. Like NDA and CDSE, UPSC, which is conducting the examination, National Defence Academy, and the Combined Defence Services Examination. These two examinations are common for all three services, in which a candidate gives his own option depending upon his merit and availability of seats. He is accommodated as per his request.
Okay, so understood. Thanks a lot, sir, for your
absolutely my pleasure, sir.
Yeah. So my first question is, rather a query, is that what is the difference between NDA and CDS?
Sir, NDA is at the age of 16 and a half, 17 and 17 and a half. But that means the qualification required for National Defence Academy examination is 10+2. This is National Defence Academy examination conducted by UPSC. After this examination, you will do 3 years training in NDA, Kadakvasla, Pune. Then 1 year subsequently you will go to respective arms of the armed forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, Indian Military Academy, Indian Air Force Academy, and the Naval Academy. Then you become an officer. In case of Combined Defence Services examination, it is for all graduates. You already have completed your graduation in civil, then you clear that examination. That is also conducted by UPSC. That is also common for all three services. Then on selection, you will be sent there and you will do only respective arms training. Like you will be going to directly to Indian Military Academy or Officers Training Academy, Air Force Academy, all those places. You will directly get into the training there. That graduation part you must have completed in civil, whereas in NDA, the 3 years training is being given by NDA itself.
So, sir, in the CDS, the graduation, is it mandatory to pass out the graduation in some particular disciplines, or is it a free graduation in any discipline?
No, any graduates, sir, any graduates.
Even BA or the person with the arts background, that he or she also can give the CDS and then get into the armed forces.
Definitely.
Okay.
Only in case if they are opting to become pilots, they will look for 10+2. They must have studied maths, physics.
Okay.
Like a person who has done BA English, but on 10+2 they have done with maths, physics with 60% of marks.
Okay. So that is a mandatory requirement.
In case if they want to become pilots, otherwise they will be given some other branch.
Understood. And similarly for the APCAT that is conducted especially for the Air Force.
Directly by Air Force, sir.
Directly by Air Force, and that also requires the +1 and +2 in math subject.
Yes, sir. In case if you are opting for that branch, there they will always ask for 60% marks.
Okay. Right. Sir, yeah. Sir, one more question, that you said that the students who are aspiring for joining the Air Force or the Defence Services, they must possess certain traits which you mentioned as that they should be social and they should be adventurous. So what exactly a student of 10th class should do in order to get these personalities developed?
You should not restrict a student mingling with others.
Okay.
Basically,
So,
we talk about emotional intelligence. Whatever he does, he should understand how is it going to make an impact onto the society, how is he going to be useful to the society, how is that society important for him. He cannot separate himself, he cannot think in isolation. For that, at that stage, what can we do is, please don't restrict his friendship circle, don't restrict him only to the studies, let him have group activities, like other extracurricular activities like scouts and guides and other NCC kind of thing, NSS, where he will have more opportunity to interact with the people and get himself adjusted with the other people, where he can understand the society better. So that kind of things will automatically bring changes within him.
Right, sir. Understood. And in fact, I have a daughter. So any special restrictions for the girl child getting into the Air Force?
Absolutely, there is nothing, sir. There is no such restrictions. Even NDA, we have got recently the girls are also permitted to join in NDA.
Okay. She has a small flat feet. The curves are little less, but there is absolutely no issue for her to make any sprints or runnings. So any
flat foot, I can understand, sir. Flat foot issue. Generally in Navy, like what we in Air Force look at vision, we are very, very critically examining. We keep looking for even a sunglass is not permitted at the time of entry level. If somebody has got that problem, defective vision is not permitted in Indian Air Force. Same with the flat foot issue is more critically seen in Navy.
Okay.
Whereas in other sides, Air Force or Army, yes, we do see, but not that critically like Navy. There are levels.
Okay.
There are levels of consideration in those areas. Like I can tell you, there is a branch, meteorological branch in Indian Air Force. We have got Met officers who are MSc Physics, highly qualified people. We have got education branch in Indian Air Force. We have got logistics branch in Indian Air Force. In that case, I can just quote an example. Met branch officer is permitted to have even 6x36 vision with corrective glasses. That much is permitted for him, for that particular branch. Whereas in flying branch, we don't permit any kind of specs. So depending upon the medical suitability, a candidate can be shifted to the suitable branches.
Right, sir. Thanks a lot, Mr. Ganesh and Mr. Arora, for very, very nicely and comprehensively conducting this session.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. You are looking like a cadet now.
So I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. So the first one was, which fighter jet did you fly?
What is it?
Which fighter jet did you fly during your flying days?
No, I'm not from flying branch. I'm from administrative branch. I was an air traffic controller. But we have been taken for flying experience. During training, every branch officer is being taken. And for an air traffic controller, the additional privilege is, whichever the base we are posted to, all type of aircraft flying there in which you will be taken for your appreciation about the flying. As a controller, whatever you did, you say the pilot is doing that. So as a controller, you should know what is the pilot actually doing when you give this kind of command.
Yes, sir.
To understand that, you are allowed to fly with the pilot in the cockpit. So that way we have got flying experience. Otherwise, I am not a pilot.
Yes, sir. And also, people say that MiG-21 is a flying coffin. I don't think this is true. So is this a myth or is this not? Is this true?
No, I don't agree with that. It's a coincidence. People can name it as per their convenience, anything. It's all word game.
Yes, sir.
People who are good in naming the things, they can name it whichever the way it suits to them or convenient to them.
Yes, so once again,
but
yes, sir, sorry, there's some interruption in the background.
No worry, no worry.
Yes, and also let's just say that somebody wants to go on an aircraft carrier and fly planes on that. So would you join through Navy or the Air Force?
No, if you're keen in flying, Air Force is the best place, because even Navy also equally has got flying opportunities. I don't deny that. Why? Because Navy has got its own helicopters. Even they have got small transport planes, and they have got fighters as well.
Yes, sir.
But Air Force is more flying specific. So that way you are more related to Air Force. For example, even if you are doing some administrative job also, that is related to flying only. Whereas Navy has got their own mandated job, but Navy has its own flying arm, has got all three types of aircraft flying in Navy.
Yes, sir.
Whereas even in Army also there are opportunities for flying. In artillery they have got helicopters fleet.
Super, I hope that answers your question, Advai.